fucking kidding me? Oh, he changed his name. That's right. Fucker, stop it.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
I've been okay. Some
So,
stuff is pissing me off.
just some stuff?
Somebody's telling me that like you can authenticate emails, and no, you can't. They have metadata. It's like, yeah, did they share any of that? And all that's easy to fake.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Anybody who has a rudimentary education in how SMTP works can fake that shit. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to share this so we can all follow along. Okay, so let me organize the screen better. Okay. So I've been running around with my hair on fire. So So part of this has been working on getting D Media as set up as an organization or as a business, a better way of putting it. And some of the kind of forcing function of Stephen going over to Ukraine has kind of caused my thinking. You've seen some of that. He's obviously only somewhat available or infrequently available to talk because he's been busy. So my thinking is, hey Michelle, my thinking is kind of working backwards from like things that are forcing us to do something. So Stephen needs he's asking you to go to the front lines essentially of Ukraine. So to be able to do that legitimately, so that he doesn't get booted out of the country, I would assume he needs to get permission from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, which then requires him to get a press pass and have be doing work for a legitimate media organization. So so there's that. Does that all make sense as far as?
Yes, he needs to not just be some random American walking around.
Yeah,
but a random American with a bunch of followers, at least.
At least what?
That was the end.
Oh, at least. Got it. Yes. So he has that. He's working on that, which is, I mean, all power to him, man. I mean, he decided to do it, and he went all in. It's awesome to have that kind of drive. So in parallel, and it was partially driven by what he was doing. It's like, oh shit, I better do something. It's more than, maybe I should do more than just talk about doing some things. So that's partly what drove me to start really considering creating D Media. And we were already kind of talking about it, that finding funding for all the Doge related projects is a big lift, because they're not really, anybody that would be investing in our work wouldn't be investing in something tangible. It's more like an amorphous, great idea. So unless we create a nonprofit that's called Doge Network or something like that, or Dude, or both, or we create a commercial company or affiliate ourselves with a commercial company. So I was trying to, I've been doing that and putting out feelers, and for better or worse, it just, none of it was easy to come by. So that's where we started talking about, well, why don't we just create a commercial company and see if we can make some money doing things and use that to fund the Doge Network project. So anyway, we all know this. I'm just kind of repeating it for posterity. So, but there wasn't really a date that was requiring us to create a business, set up a website, get journalists, those kinds of things. So and so Stephen going over kind of forced that whole kind of escalation of everything. So anyway, so I've been talking with a couple of people that are lawyers or know enough about starting companies, and I've been involved and done it myself personally. I have some experience in how not to do it, or how it could be, which has given me some understanding of how to do it better. So, but the thing is, But so I'm starting to work on incorporating. I'm going to do it very slowly, but one of the interim steps is to establish a fictitious name, which is essentially gives you the ability to operate as a business without the overhead of incorporating. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm working with a friend of mine to help me do that because it's just extra work. Hopefully, I'll be coding more than I'll be working on that stuff. We're going to share. I'm going to give him some tech consulting for free, basically, for him doing that. So that's in process. That's a necessary step to help Stephen as well. I've started reaching out to a variety of people that are posting and have been posting on X and creating material on YouTube that appear to be unaffiliated and have been also writing. Brian is one of them. He's already given me an article, which I've already posted. I'm talking to a few other folks as well. I've put out feelers to about 20 people now, asking if they're interested. About 5 or 6 have, I think we're up to 6 now, have stated that they're interested in doing something. Brian has actually given me an article. A couple others are working on them. And they kind of run the gamut of Doge-related journalism. And that's how I'm organizing D Media. I've obviously, well, not obviously, but and maybe
for some water, I'll be back. I can hear you though.
Yeah. So for the people listening that aren't familiar with D Media, created I guess it's been about 2 weeks now. Created the storefront. I've set up the authentication and subscription services. I haven't formalized the subscription services because I need the fictitious name established, so I don't basically put myself at risk personally. So I'll probably be able to get this subscription service up and running, so I can accept D Media, that is, can accept subscriptions by maybe the middle of next week. The whole website is set up. I'm actually finalizing the contribution page. People are welcome to email stories to Sean at dmedia.ai in the meantime. You folks are actually doing that. A few are actually posting these stories over X messages, which is fine as well. But the contribution page is about 90% of the way there. I just need to work through a few bugs. All you need to do right now is just basically create an account and sign on essentially with D Media. It's very, very painless to do it. I'm using Clerk to do that. Authentication works pretty well. As soon as you sign on, you can see the contribution terms, which right now is just an explanation of what you need to email to submit a story. The tool that I've built, the contribution page, it has 3 types of content, which all of these are actually posted on examples already posted on eMedia. YouTube videos, X posts, and long form articles, which are basically just text and images that we'll post directly on eMedia. So if you sign on, you'll see the contribution page, and then you'd be able to submit any of these 3 types of media, which will basically spin up and create a PR, which is how everything works essentially. And then one of us, you and I, Pierce, both have the authority or the rights, better word, to accept a PR. And it's a bit clunky right now, and there's a bit problems with it, so it doesn't technically work yet. So hopefully right after this meeting, I'll be able to work on it. And you're welcome to take a look at it as well if you have the time, Pierce, to help debug it. But so yeah, I pushed all the code to make the contribution page work, so there's no outstanding PR for that. But the the contribution function as it's published right now doesn't actually work. It works offline on localhost. It works fine, but off of Vercel for some reason it's not working. Just needs to be debugged. Anyway, so that was a bit of a verbal diarrhea there. Yeah. As soon as you get a chance, Shell, you send me your GitHub. No problem. Yeah, no worries. She's apologizing over comments that she hasn't been able to give me her GitHub.
Yeah, she hasn't been GitHub. Yeah, that's fine. And if you need help, if you don't have one and you need help getting one, you can reach out to me and we'll do a live stream on like how to set up a GitHub.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, right. We'll upgrade people. That'll be the thing. I think we should do some more recruiting. Sarah Cruzen just sent you a thing.
She doing it privately or?
Yeah, she sent me a message. She said, "I just sent this to Sean."
Oh, okay.
She's inspired. Cool. That's cool. I also think,
Thanks.
Let's see, Bad Kitty Unleashed, who is at Pepe's grandma. She's Data Republican adjacent, and she could be one of the people who is a researcher but needs help with the tech.
Yeah,
it's helping her dig into a domain issue. And there's somebody else whose name I don't remember, who's been Data Republican adjacent. We should start bagging up some of these Data Republican researchers adjacent.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all in our wheelhouse, right? So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and everybody needs cross promotion and all that. Let's see. Let me go to my X Pro and I can give you a list of people.
Okay, cool. Please. Yeah, I know Jenica's super busy. Life and her writing a book and her keeping her own account up and going, and then asking her to start contributing to this, I know is a huge lift. So
yeah, a Lab Tech Lee would be a good get.
I'm sorry, what?
Lab Tech Lee, Leigh.
Do you want to shoot me the spelling? That way,
yeah.
Either on comments would be fine. Either private or public. I mean, it's going to go public eventually, anyways.
How do I put it in the chat?
Yeah,
I know how to put it in the private chat, but I don't see how to make a new chat message.
Well, I'm going to ideally publish this information sooner or later, because they're going to, whoever. Well, I don't know. It's up to you. However you want to share it, what you feel comfortable with. If some of these people don't have their identity out there that they're working on this, that certainly privately. If they're doing it publicly, then public chat is probably fine.
No, I'm fine. I'm just I'll do it in private chat because the user interface isn't broken in the private chat. Let's see. It has an entry box. You want Lab Tech Lee, and let's see. Here we are. SK double dub 3. Double dub 53. Mike Ben Cyber would be great, but I don't think we'll get him. Who else? Posting watch out, Utah. We already have the questionable Gardner. He's not on our list of active contributors. This could be good, but hard to get. Cuneo. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a French name.
Okay, make this bigger. Okay.
This guy came out of nowhere.
So as you're doing that, one of the things I need to work out with Stephen is uh, he needs to publish he needs to publish articles on D Media to be considered. Uh, I forget, I'm drawing a blank on the right word, but essentially to be considered a journalist for his. Um, I think the press pass isn't as difficult of a leap, and I think he's already working on that. And it shouldn't take that long. But getting approval from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine is a big lift. And so for him to be able to be allowed formally to what's considered military zones, quote unquote, front line, then needs to have published journalistic work someplace. So I'm not sure that X would suffice. So I'm going to need to work with him. We had already been talking about this, but it was kind of in the midst of him leaving, and he was driving, to the East Coast. So it was obviously not top of mind for him. But we'll need to figure out how to convert some of the material that he's posted on X as actual long form, like 500 words plus articles on D Media. That would be one of the necessary steps. So we're getting closer to being able to support him. There's a couple of the steps that I need to figure out to be able to support him as a journalist.
I saw that you sent him the list of things he needed to do.
Yeah, and I posted that on the private message. So Michelle is asking what she needs, what we need from her. I think her help on art is more than enough. I think.
Yeah, she should set up a website where she shares political cartoons and art.
I'm saying she needs to do that, or?
Well, I just think that's what she should do, right? I mean, that's her bailiwick, right? Share your art, share your prompts, put it up there, and build followings, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can help her with that, obviously.
Yeah.
And or we can just she can do it through D Media if she feels comfortable doing that. It's either or both.
Followers are followers, and the artwork on X goes away, but on the website would stay, right? So
it's true.
If she spends all this time doing some artwork and then she puts it up, and it's like, where'd it go?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you realize that, Michelle. I would assume you did, but we've never talked about it. That the images that you post to X, they're only actually published for a limited period of time. I think it's 3 or 6 months, something like that. It's limited. They disappear after a period of time.
They stop promoting them. Yeah. I mean, if I scroll through my media tab, there's stuff that I posted a while ago, but unless I repost it or whatever, it doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And annoyingly, you have to recopy it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Awesome. I'm glad we're telling you. So it's not that you can't see them when you look at a post. You can still see them, but being able to get access to them so that they're downloadable and accessible for other services, especially, they disappear. There's a couple of back-end services. So like if I'm trying to publish an image from Twitter and it's a year old, it's gone. I can't do that anymore. It's so like doing embedded tweets and things like that. That's those images are disappeared. So one of the common things if I'm running a media site like D Media that I have to do is I need to grab the image along with the metadata like the text, the publisher name, when it was published, all that kind of stuff. That seems to last permanently. But the images, I think, probably because they're so much larger, and there's a
Mhm.
kind of probably a capacity storage problem, that they will not be publicly available after a period of time. So anyway, um, so I think between Pierce and I, and the D Media business concept, more than happy to help you, Michelle. So we should just have a conversation of what you're thinking and what you'd like to do. Happy to have that figured out, because obviously you put a lot of work into your art. So it'd be a well, why not promote it? So X is certainly a way, but yeah. But having a more, I guess, long-term place to store your art and to promote it, I think would make a lot of sense, depending on what you want to do, of course.
And scrolling through my media tab to see how far back it goes.
Yeah, well, I think it's not a matter of if it's visible, because they have a front, they have a back end and a front end. Not exactly the right terminology, but a front end and a back end way of sharing images and videos. So I believe the back end, awesome, cool, Michelle. Yep, let's. So I believe on the back end they're always available, but on the front end that's visible or available to other services like DMedia, for example, or any other. That's where it goes away. That's when it's.
Yeah, there's definitely a limit because I just reached the end
Yeah.
of my media tab, and that was from early version of the Sankey.
So, but obviously there's limitations to what, I mean, for all intents and purposes, X is messaging platform. So using it as kind of a pseudo website is not really what it's meant to do. And I don't think they have any like intention of becoming that kind of service. So, but the fact that it obviously does support video, it does support images, and in addition to essentially texting back and forth to each other, is I think is more of a necessary side effect of supporting the messaging part of its core function.
Yeah.
But
April 5th, 2025 is my oldest image in my media tab.
Okay, so that looks like roughly 16 months then. Oh no, 20. That's 6 months. Yeah.
That's 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months. Okay, that's
Yeah.
not very
11.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the storage is expensive. Even if you dedupe it costs real money. Bits got to be stored someplace, and then especially people requesting them as well. They probably want to save on network transmission as well. So it probably helps them manage their costs quite better than having everything always available. Okay, so we're gonna. I'll just write as a note. Talk to Michelle about art and helping. Okay, so I rambled about the media as a business stuff. One thing I didn't mention, I've reached out to Dylan Law Group, which is actually local to me. That is Harmeet Dillon's law practice she put together. I'm going to try to reach out to them through a contact as well to see if I can get their attention. I'm going to attempt to ask them for, well, saying this weird, I'm asking for help. So I think the more help I get from friendly folks, the better. And I think I probably could do all the corporation and business setup without a lawyer, but if I had one in my corner, it was even friendly and was willing to defer expenses, if not contribute them, that would be awesome. So if you know any lawyers that would want to do that, anyone, please message Pierce or I, and that would be incredibly awesome. Or if anybody knows anybody at Dillon Law, that would be awesome as well. I think they have business relationships with some of the groups that I work with here in the Bay Area, and so I think they would be probably the ideal one. But I'm willing to take all comers. As far as Doge projects, I haven't had a chance to do any work on any of that lately. I've been mostly working on building the D-Media website. So there's not much to report there. You and I do need to talk about our accommodations in Phoenix.
Phoenix. Yeah. We should maybe book soon if we're going to get an Airbnb.
Okay. Well, did you get a chance to talk to Stephen about what he had planned? And you were at one point going to stay with him. Is that something that?
Yeah, but you told me he was going to be there deep in December.
That's my understanding. But it may be that he already has some reservations someplace or some plans. So maybe we could just reuse that rather than, and maybe that would also help him out.
That's just easy.
Yeah, just ask him.
So Sean and I.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I guess so.
Backup reservations of Phoenix. Are you going to be back in time for America? There. He was on this morning, so because he told me he doesn't actually speak Ukrainian. I don't know why I thought he did. I think it's the American thing, if there's enough, if somebody speaks 5 languages, you think they speak all languages.
Well, I think he knows a few words, enough to get by. So, and I think enough Ukrainians are multilingual that they can.
Yeah, like they have to learn Russian because of history, and then a lot of them know Ukrainian too. And I think Zelensky gives speeches in both sometimes, Russian and Ukrainian.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, he's somewhat literate.
They have a weird history. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. So, definitely, if you, Pierce, or we've already. Well, I guess we already went over, and I guess I reiterate it for anybody who's listening right now, is that we need to find people that are willing to consistently contribute content to D-Media. That's going to help everything work better. So obviously, while we're unfunded, we don't have subscriptions even set up, able to take subscriptions yet. It's going to be gratis for now. But as we hit some milestones, and I'll work on communicating this very clearly. Once we hit some funding milestones, and I'll start D-Media, we will be able to start paying journalists for their work. One of the things I'd hope to do, but we're not quite there, is that if we had D-Media already spun up, and Stephen would have come to us basically and said, "Hey, I want to do this thing in Ukraine," and blah blah blah. And we said, "Okay, yeah, here's the agreement. I have an outline for one, or a rough draft for a journalist agreement to go on location, essentially go on assignment." And then we would fund him. We would have all the insurance and equipment and training and everything else that he didn't have, and make sure that he's ready to do what he's supposed to do, or he needs to be done to be prepared.
Set him up with the Ukrainian authorities, stuff like that.
All that stuff. Normally, we would have, if we were all spun up and ready to go, he would have had his press pass and his agreement with Ministry of Defense before he even left. Before he even booked his airline ticket. That would have been all the pre-steps. So we're doing this out of order, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but we're doing this out of order. So, and then obviously, there'll probably be some people that will just contribute to D Media because they want to, and they don't expect to get paid, which is totally cool. They do it occasionally, just more as a hobby, and we want to encourage that. There'll be some folks, and we'll need a certain number of these, probably somewhere between 5 and 10, maybe less, but that's my guess right now, that contribute consistently on an ongoing basis. And I want to provide, and perhaps even want to go out on assignments, and we want to encourage that. And so for those folks, I want to be able to give them some kind of compensation. So probably some combination of baseline fee, or we pay a baseline fee depending on how much they can contribute, and the regularity of it, and then some kind of bonuses depending on certain criteria for individual posts or for the work. But yeah, I have. There's some really good examples out there between Daily Wire, Barstool, and 44 Media, and some others that are kind of not traditional news organizations that are doing this kind of work, and how they reimburse their employees essentially, or contractors. So I'm assuming right now that we're going to have two levels of employment. We're going to have contractors that don't necessarily want to work for an organization, but want to get paid somehow, and they'll possibly work and consult with multiple media organizations to do work, or maybe they have a regular job and they just want to do it part time. And then there'll be folks like Pierce and I that are thinking about actually being employees, and that we would have additional responsibilities, like keeping the lights on. So yeah. And I think I'm 100% available, and I'm talking to a few folks about actually coming on as employees. But obviously, for us to do that, we have to get established and get some money coming in, and chicken and egg problem. So what else? Just to kind of for the topic at hand of this meeting, typically is to talk about AmericaFest. So what else, other than us having accommodations? We're going to talk about our projects, the status of our projects. Right now, I think that would be primarily, California Doge and Data Republican. At least, hopefully, we can get a few other folks to join us there. But at the very least, it would just be you and I meeting, and I'm not sure. I know of a few other people that are going. I'm not sure if they want to talk about it publicly at this point. But publicly, it will be you and I. So, for better or worse, that would be our plan. Is to, and this is something I want to do every 6 months, ideally. We talk about what we've done, and we talk about how we're going to work together, or at very least what our plans are for the next 6 months. So I don't think there's anything too exotic we have to do to prepare for that at this point, right?
Did they have any birds of feather sessions at AmericaFest or anything like that, where we can get a room and talk to people?
I don't believe so, but things are changing so fast. I don't know. It's certainly worth a question. I do have a contact that I've been talking to over there, so there's no harm in trying to see if they do.
Yeah, because we know they don't have booths or anything like that. So,
well, they do have booths. Why are you saying they don't?
Oh, I don't know. I just assumed that they didn't, because you said they didn't have any concept of that.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I misspoke if that's what I said. What I was saying is the speaker areas in the marketplace mall. I'm saying this haltingly. So, we've all been to these. Well, I'll say it for everyone's benefit. I know you know this. So typically, there's the the area where the formal stage and speaking area, and it usually holds like 500 plus or thousands of people. And it gets dark and has all this equipment, and it's more like a regular speaking area. And then generally adjacent to it, this is how most convention centers are set up. They'll have space set up for booths for all the sponsors to actually formally set up and hawk their stuff. But I believe they have that, and that's typical. And they, most of the political organizations that have kind of these, I guess you could say TPUSA is political in nature. That's what they do. That's pretty normal. Now, the thing that I don't think they do, because they were very confused when I even asked about it, was to have within that mall of booths for vendors and sponsors, is that they'd have smaller speaking areas, smaller stages set up, and they'd have typically different types of vendors organized around each other. So like, some people would be hawking, car parts, and another area they'd be hawking, video games. I don't know, just making this up. So, and they'd organize them around the little speaking areas, and they would kind of allow folks that want to upgrade to have speaking, to use part of those that speaking time in that mini speaking area for people that are walking the mall area to essentially stop by and listen to them speak and hawk their stuff. So what I was hoping to do, and I hope to do this at other places as we get more organized and figure out new places to go and hold our meetings at in the future, is that we would get enough money to scrape together so that we could actually get a booth by sponsoring a booth essentially and paying our 5, 10, 15 grand or whatever it costs, and then get on the agenda for one of those speaking areas and actually have the discussion that you and I would have somewhat privately this time go around about our what we've done and what we're planning on working on, that we would have more of us set up, and so we would be able to get up on stage and have kind of an organized speakers and talk about our projects, and it would be interesting. People would just swing by and get to hear us talk. So rather than us trying to set this all up ourselves and start our own like little mini conference, which is a huge lift, some people do that, but I'd much rather co-opt and join another established organization like TPUSA that's already doing this, and just kind of join them and see if we can get new contributors, new of various sorts, either for tech or journalism, and get them to participate. So anyway, that was a very long explanation. Does that make sense? That's what I was saying. I don't think.
Yeah, I was just asking because like if you go to WWDC, sometimes they'll have birds of a feather breakouts. And I was thinking maybe we could get on the schedule of like, hey, we're going to be talking about NGO corruption in this room and how you as a citizen can research things, right? And give tutorials of like so on. And
I don't know.
Kind of how to be a citizen journalist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And how to do the research and stuff like that. How to use Grok, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That makes a lot of sense. That's certainly an in-between of my more complicated getting on a speaker stage. So yeah, I can ask.
Yeah, and we could do that. We could staff that like with somebody there, like throughout the conference. Of like, go to this room if you want to learn how to grok to research the government.
Well, they don't have okay, so one thing I do know is that they do have a private room. It's huge. It's like for 500 plus people. It's a
Hmm.
big room, but it's enclosed with four walls, and it's an actual separate room, and it's meant for semi or it's meant for side talks, and that is available. But I don't think,
That's too big a room for us. I mean, I
and
don't think we'll
and I
get
don't think we could afford
500
it.
people.
I think it's
Yeah,
like 10 grand for every hour or 45 minutes we're charging. So,
which is cheap if you're a big company, but yeah,
well, yeah, it's super reasonable. So, and I doubt they would even allow us to, even if we did have the money, to take it over for many hours. I'm sure
yeah.
they have a lot of people that want it. So there's probably a bartering or prioritization of who gets on the schedule. Um, so yeah, that doesn't look like that's possible for this type of conference. Siri's getting involved. Um, Siri, go away. Um, So, but yes, we could definitely, and I want to do that for future. We get we get some money coming in. We get some. We can set aside some of that money for conferences. That's
Mhm.
definitely the plan, because it's a regular thing, uh, both for journalists and for tech folks to go to conferences to get keep up on what's going to basically
Mhm.
network, but also well, basically to network, just keep it simple. So I think definitely we should do that, and I think we're in somewhat of an interesting narrow field. There's certainly some tech oriented journalist conferences I'm aware of, but I don't think any of them are as data focused as we are, which is maybe a niche, but something that obviously I think gives us um, somewhat of a uniqueness. But there's certainly other. We should make an effort to show up to some of the tech journalist conferences that are out there. Um, and so and when we do that, then getting a booth and sponsoring getting a booth and possibly having a room to hands-on training and give speaker talks and stuff like that. I think we should definitely do that, because that, quote unquote, those should be our people. um,
Yeah.
you know so um, yeah. So but yeah, not doesn't look like this is more of a political conference than a tech or journalist conference. So,
Yeah, I know.
which is is what it is. Um,
It'd be
okay.
cool if we could get some of the big media people to come in and learn how to use Grok to research things on their own if they wanted to do that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that motivated me, and I think it motivated you as well, is I like to build things, and the
Yeah, we're
anti-bias.
engineers.
Yeah, that's kind of our in our DNA. Um, so
We
the
build things or fix things, and fighting
yeah,
government corruption is both, right? You get to do both. That's really fun, right?
yeah,
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 but
I
it's also
agree.
why we're not lawyers who break things or stop things.
Valid. Yeah, man, that's true. Being a problem solver and a lawyer is it's a bit of a contradiction in terms, but not all of them. I don't want to paint them all that broad of a brush, but yeah,
Everybody likes their lawyer, right? But I also see what my lawyer's doing, and I'm like, wow, okay,
yeah,
cool.
does seem yeah, valid. Um, so
I had to, I did have to nag him Monday because I'm like, hey, the 15th is coming up. Is my petition filed yet? And he's like, yeah, I'm working on it. And then he like does it on Veterans Day. So I'm like, thank you for working on Veterans Day. I offered to teach him Kanban, but I don't think he's going to take that challenge. I'll just
time
continue to be in a
management is a
constant panic. Yeah. If
yeah,
you don't
it's
manage time, it
hard.
manages you. Those are your
It, it's
choices.
it's true, but I mean, how many companies have you been with where no matter what the no matter what the wonderful, whether you're using Kanban or Agile, whatever tooling you're using to do that kind of work. How many of those milestones or feature deliveries slip? I mean, it's pretty consistent. There's always an excuse or reason a bug pops up.
Yeah, I read
Somebody
a
gets
good
sick,
book once about, it was called
whatever it is.
Exploiting Chaos, and it was about how to manage. Oh, here it is. It's like how to manage software development, and the argument was that software development is random, and it's like a fractal, and so you don't really know how long something is going to take.
Well, it's
And
never
I
done.
didn't,
I mean,
yeah, I never
technically,
finished the
yeah.
book, but I just kind of read that. I was like, oh, okay. And then Agile makes sense too, because it's like, okay, what's the smallest thing we can get done, and do that. And there's a lot of human factors that make Agile work, of like doing incremental development, right? Because
Yeah.
people have leaky brains. And so if you do one thing, that thing is in your brain for a while. But if 6 months later you're like, oh, now we got to integrate, you're screwed, right? And that's one of the reasons Agile works, I think. It also focuses everybody on like knowing what they're building, which, you would think would happen, but no. You can write 1,000-page specs that no one's going to read. But if you write a one-page thing every week of like, this is what we're going to do this week, that will work. Anyways,
Yeah.
this is
No.
a
Yeah.
soapbox in
And I
managing
mean,
software engineers.
like in a family friend who is a lawyer, rather accomplished lawyer, and we have a lot in common. Just the most basic thing that's in common is that you're never technically done. It's impossible to be done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're not, if you're a sculptor, at some point, or maybe a painter is a good analogy, but I think a sculptor, there is a point where you're actually done. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
um, perhaps not. Maybe that's my inexperience of being a sculptor, but um, anyway, for a lot of things, there is a point of being done. Like making a cheeseburger, or I don't know. There's a lot of things that are very. You fix a car. Something breaks, you fix it, and you give it back to the person. It's very beginning and end. It's very organized. But for legal and engineering, there is no real done, because there's always something else that you could tweak. So figuring out how to have small accomplishments through sprints, or something like a sprint of a week or 2 weeks, is a necessary evil. And being able to do that regularly is very difficult. It's always much easier to talk about it than it is to do it in practice, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's that fractal that you're showing. It's so easy to go off on a tangent. In most of the startups, say 90% of them, that's why we failed, is because somebody got distracted by a tangent of a detail, whether it was technical or business or sales, and got us focused on just one thing rather than the bigger picture. And we lost sight generally of what the customer needed, and didn't pay attention to the customer as much as we should have. And lo and behold,
That's why
they
the
stopped.
lean guys are good in that way. Like, you're continually testing and so on. That's when I encourage you to read that value proposition design book about how you figure out. And it's just a recipe of like, you execute this recipe, and this is how you figure out what people want.
Yeah. Well, I do plan on reading that, and I have my Google product book, which is a lot of things they don't like about Google and Meta, of how they've run their businesses, but they know how to build products. They know how they've been very rigorous at making sure they understand what their customers need and want. You could argue, and I think there's some easy ones there, of whether or not they're doing it with the right intent, but their ability or abilities of creating a product and delivering it to people, they've done a very good job, and they consistently do a very good job.
They have a lot of
Even
really good technical chops, but their products are very technical and a little bit too technical, I think.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
certainly you could argue that, but the fact that they just have product um, folks in their organizations are very prominent, and actually run most of the larger projects, says a lot about their rigor. Most organizations I've been a part of, that is not the case at all. They're generally run by either project managers or in some cases a VP who doesn't really understand what they're doing. Um, so yeah, being able to be run by folks with actual product intent, which to me very simply means that they understand the features that the customers need and can actually adapt to when that changes. And they
I
don't
read
do
all
it.
those books too, but like A/B testing
Hmm.
does not substitute for product vision. And so deciding what color to make something by running A/B tests on it, I disagree. I just fundamentally disagree with. I
Hmm.
mean,
Okay, interesting.
so at some point you have to know, you have to have a vision for your product and where it's going, and you can test that vision, but you shouldn't be so beholden to like the data that you don't know what you're doing, you know. And then I've
I
heard
see.
CEOs, like Adobe CEO came and talked to the Chegg folks, and he talked about how nobody wanted the subscription model, but as a business, they needed to switch to the subscription model because they're being pirated so much. And so they said, well, we're going to have to do this anyway. So they did it. That's kind of not a good answer, but I mean, that's not necessarily a good example because it's where a user got screwed. But you know, you look at Apple that has very clear vision of what they're building or used to, and you look at
Yeah.
um, like uh, so many other big tech companies who don't really know what they're building, you know, or Tesla has really good vision of what they're building, right? And they're like, oh,
I
we're
believe
not
so.
going to
Yeah.
support CarPlay, but we're going to make CarPlay like things functional so that your iPhone works really well in your Tesla, you know, and we're going to build our own version of CarPlay because CarPlay actually is lame. And you know, my Honda supports CarPlay kinda, but I can't even reliably play music from my iPhone to my Honda when I'm driving around. Like the Bluetooth will go and drop off.
What's so what I would say is to try to summarize at least what I understand of what you were just talking about is um, that A/B testing is necessary, but um, making it like really drive the product functionality and the product delivery is a mistake. Um,
Well, that's
but
my
we,
same. It's a similar criticism I have of a lot of machine learning. Is you have to look at the data and make sure that the machine learning you've done makes sense and not just say, "Oh, this is working great." There's a story where they had this project in the UK, like fed it all these X-rays
yeah,
to find cancer,
right,
and they're like, "Hey, we're getting 95% success rate identifying cancer from X-rays."
got
And then
it.
they said, "Oh, we should put bounding boxes on the X-rays." And what they discovered is that it was putting bounding boxes around the signature of the oncologist. And so you got to look in the data. And then they said, "Oh, okay, well now we're going to like scrub the oncologist's name off all the X-rays." And then they discovered they could not get to 95% when they
Right.
did that. So they're like, "Oops."
Well, it's a super common problem, and it's interesting how with all the combined skills of people working and developing AI models and the tests to validate improvements of one generation of AI model to the next, that you can't get away from the blind study requirement for that's very common in medical testing, where if the test is really well known, then it's just inevitable, whether it's a computer doing it or a human doing it or both of it doing it, that you will start creating things that perform really well on the test. And whether or not they're really useful for anything else becomes secondary.
Mhm.
But they really pass the test really well, which becomes the point. Much like accreditation and ISO and some of these other compliance annual tests that people go through. In disaster recovery is also a good example that the test becomes the point rather than the point is actually delivering value to the customers. You're validating that you can pass the test because your product is really good, not that the test is the product. But it's just kind of human nature that, and I think computer or AI model nature is that the test becomes the point after a while. So it's just you have to be very systematic and going back and making sure that you're communicating with the customer and that you're doing both things. You're testing and you're validating that it can pass the tests and validating that people want it. And that's, I think, to kind of round or circle back on why I was rambling about this is that A/B tests can be one of those kind of last ditch mechanisms to make sure that you're actually paying attention to the customer. But I think one of the best ways that I've seen to validate it is not with a bunch of interaction, but to do analytics from A/B testing and just automatically route a certain amount of traffic to two different versions of a product, maybe one that has a different color button than the other, and just see how many people use the button, as a basic validation. Now, there can be a lot of other things if it's too abstract like that will break it, give you bad data, perhaps. But I think it's one of those things of that whole understanding your customer and making sure that you are systematically going back and double checking it and that product focus of is.
I totally agree. But I'm a conservative, right? There's boundaries, right? And I have boundaries, and I saw us overuse it at Chegg of like testing button colors. They're like, oh, we checked the color, and we got 1% better response rate, and I'm like, you didn't really do that many samples. Why don't you trust the artist who designed the page? Which one looks better?
Yeah.
Maybe they're clicking on it because they're ugly, and they're like, oh, what's this ugly button? I don't know.
I got it. No, I totally follow you. So, and with a lot of CI/CD testing, that it's really easy to do too little or too much. You create this really difficult test that's really elegant, but it breaks all the time, so you end up turning it off, or you end up ignoring the results. And it's like, well, then,
or you end up it doesn't test what you think it does. Like we had this automated test at Chegg that would check out a book and all that. And then we deployed it, and then our sales went to 0. And the reason they went to 0 is they didn't deploy the little image. Now they deployed it in the test bank, but not in production. So they immediately copied it over to production, and people could check out again. But the automated test was not looking for the button; it was looking for the label on the button that said, "This is checking."
Oops. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially with, and I've run into this myself as well, that with AI assistance now, it's way too easy because creating tests and maintaining them is a freaking nightmare. It takes a lot of time and effort. In a lot of cases, it takes 2x the time to actually build the application and to build a test to test that functionality that you actually built. So keeping them up to date and everything, it's way easy to rely on AI automation to create the tasks. So double checking that it's actually the tests are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, or testing is pretty important.
And with AI automation, you actually need more tests because it's really easy for the AI to just drop lines of code.
Well,
I don't know what this line does, so I'm just going to drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. Chaos Monkey is certainly a necessary thing to do. And something that I'd want to do with the D-Media work that we're doing. We're a few steps away from there, but it would definitely be an objective, because I think Chaos Monkey or similar is, actually normally breaking things to see how resilient the code base and the infrastructure is pretty necessary. You don't want to rely on your customers.
Especially with a multi microservice architecture. Well, if we ever get there where we have like a bunch of servers running stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are using that now with the I'd say I'm not as familiar with how Data Republic's set up, but I'm using
It's just a website.
Vercel. Go ahead.
It's just a website on Jekyll.
Yeah, but as far as the back end, is it actually set up on Kubernetes, for example? As
No, there's none of that.
scaled.
It's just
Yeah.
a website. Yeah,
Okay.
it's I can't remember who hosts it. It's in the web page somewhere. She gives them credit. It's American Hosting or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's
But
right.
it's just a Jekyll site, and it gets pushed to whatever. And so you merge in your changes, and it goes live in about a minute or so. And I think it's
Well,
just
they
copying it
probably
over to the web
have
server.
some kind of failback at least. I mean, at least primary and secondary, I would guess, but maybe not. I don't know. And I would assume that they're probably running it off of Kubernetes. But how is it vertically or horizontally scaled? Don't know.
Mm.
But that would be part of doing exactly what we're talking about is how
I do
resilient
know that
is stuff.
Data's viewpoint was that she wanted it to be servable from a CDN.
Okay.
Yeah, because then she's sort of immune to denial of service attacks.
Well, sure.
That being the website version of swatting, right? So
Sure, definitely. Yeah.
and not
Denial
even
of service
expensive
is
anymore.
DOS attacks are pretty almost. I mean, it's almost just expected nowadays. I mean, the stuff I've set up on Vercel that's built into there's a certain level. It's not super hardcore, but a certain base level of firewalling and DOS support, and it's constantly getting beaten on. As soon as I set up a website, within a week, it's getting pounded on by somebody. There's script kiddies everywhere that's all they do.
Nothing better to do.
Constantly
Yeah.
probing.
And then there's a too much service attack, which is when your CEO goes on television and a million people go to your website that second. And bring down your Cisco firewall because it can only handle like 3,000 minutes at once.
That's always a good problem to have, right? But but being prepared for when and if something like that's going to happen, then you can horizontally scale your application so that it can handle that kind of load, or at least have it so that it can, dynamically scale to that kind of load. And that's maybe something that we could talk to Jenica and about setting up. Now, right now, I have limited support for that on Vercel, but I can actually set that up pretty straightforward on Vercel as well. But they already have. They basically Vercel is a higher order. It's all run on Kubernetes, but the actual configuration of Kubernetes is obscured for me, which is kind of good.
But you have to debug it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we do start running into problems because we're running enough traffic, then probably we'll have to get either raise the level of service with Vercel so they can take care of it, and or consider forking it to a service where we actually have the control over the vertical and horizontal scaling of Kubernetes, which I have some experience with. So I'm certainly ready to do that. I just don't want to do it unless I have to. So, but that's more of a 150 to 200,000 monthly active users kind of problem. So we're a little ways away from that. But yeah. So is there anything else we should talk about? Anything that's burning for you that you wanted to catch up on?
No.
Okay. Are you interested in contributing any articles for some of the stuff that you've been, you don't have to do it often, but just occasionally. Is that something that you've considered or you would consider?
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that after I get the next round of coding done.
Cool.
Let's see. Things in the queue will be first to getting this round of coding done with the geolocation. Then will be the long march visualization I'm doing for Jenica. And third might be seeing about the police blotters and their racial profiling and doing a study on how off they are.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. There's a side project that I haven't had time to spin up. So there's a number of national databases on crime statistics, um, and there's a couple that are actually better than others. Typically, the ones that are reported on by journalists are using, I think, the lower quality ones, um, and we get really skewed results, I think, because of that. So what I'd love to do is to start to grab that data that's pretty dry from, I think, the better sources, and create a combination source crime uh, interface. I guess database would be the back end. So that'd be combining a bunch of different data sources, much like what I'm doing with Data Republic and you're doing with DR. And
Mm-hmm.
then enriching the data, like providing images of people that were victims of crimes, um, and just providing a more and also a GPS, a map of actual crimes, and that's time scalable,
Mm-hmm.
slidable, so that people could go through and actually visually see the information. So that seems to be something that's missing. Um, so yeah, that's something that I wanted to do. So it sounds a little bit similar to what you're talking about, but
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously, to build something like that would take a considerable amount of time. Um,
Well, there's some of those exist already too.
some of them do, but not like this. At least not that I've seen.
Yeah.
If one exists like when I'm thinking about it, I'd love to use it, because I think that's a really interesting resource. But
Mm-hmm.
so far, the ones I've seen, they don't they either use bad sources, or sources that I think are not great, where they focus on a very narrow set of crimes rather than the more broader, like crime categories. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, and the problem that we have is that the government is constantly lying to us too.
Yes, well, that's, I think, inherently, um, certainly with some recent administrations, that we've had that problem where for some things, they just stop reporting them. They don't exist. But there's a lot of um, nonprofit and commercial sources of that data that are available. That I think you put them together, you get a better composite than I think has been usually available. But I've been looking at it for probably 12 months. It was about 12 months ago I was thinking of doing this project. So it's very possible somebody has picked up the torch and built it for me. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Um,
Oh, reach out to your family friend who's a lawyer and see if he'd be interested in learning Kanban.
uh, sure. Um, I'd say no. Because yeah, that that's just not going to work for him. So, and I could say that with personal experience, that uh, he's getting stuff done. I just don't know how. Let me say it in a different way: that he is very productive, gets a lot of stuff done, but it seems to be very um, organic to me. I'm sure he has a way of organizing it that makes sense to him, but as an outsider, obviously I'm not looking at his books, so to speak, but it seems very organic. So something like Kanban would, that kind of organization, I don't see that. Me even explaining it to him, he'd probably just be like, I don't have time for that. So
Well,
just is what it
it's
is.
how Toyota makes cars,
Uh,
right? And if they can make millions of cars, and production is production, right? It's not like you
yeah,
have one
I
production
don't
large scale.
disagree with you. I'm just,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think you're also finding this with as you were saying, with your own lawyer, that time management doesn't seem to be a priority. even though somehow he seems to get stuff done, and you're feeling like you have to, remind him of certain things to keep him on track. And for something like that, like an auto parts or a auto repair shop, that they have excellent time management, because if they don't, you know, get a customer's car in and get it out within a certain period of time, they lose money. So they
Yeah,
have
they have to.
huge
Yeah,
incentive.
yeah.
Lawyers and a lot of other professionals don't have that kind of incentive. They don't technically lose money in a lot of cases if they don't, you know,
They're
get
just more
things
stressed.
done on a
They
particular
just lose
schedule.
calm,
What's
right?
that?
You just lose. They just lose calm, and they think they can handle it. And it's, or
Well, they're
why
more
be
time and
uncalm when you can
materials
be calm?
businesses, I guess you could say, in a way.
Yeah,
Maybe not that
yeah,
specifically, but they're certainly more oriented towards time and
yeah,
materials. Where a lot of most organizations, like auto repair, that's my example for today. It is not time and materials. It's very much set price, and that's somewhat actually by state law in a lot of places and a lot of
yeah. There's
localities.
a book that
An
the
estimate.
mechanics have, and they can look up the model of car and the year and the
Very
thing they're
good.
trying to do, and there's like,
Yeah.
this is how much that's, this is how long that's going to take.
Yep. Well, they're also bound by the estimate. You go in, they give you an estimate, and it's if they're off by the estimate by a certain amount without a really good reason, they'll get in trouble, not only by possibly getting sued by the person, but also from the state regulator, because they have to be it's a regulated business, so
Yeah,
better or worse. So license to operate as an auto mechanic is a thing.
yeah,
So they are not just random. They have to keep on track, and they have to pump out the certain amount of volume, and it has to be a certain level of quality. So
yeah.
they're much more motivated. So so in closing, I would say Kanban and lawyers is a great ideal. I just don't see it flying. I'd love to see more lawyers think that way, but that's my experience. I've never met one yet that thinks that way. So
Well, yeah, I'm just trying. It's just me trying to fix problems. Right? We were talking about making things and fixing things. That's what we do.
yeah,
Just me and Jack.
well, but to a certain extent, there has to be a customer willing to accept the product, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They have to realize they have a problem. They have to realize that, like, they're like trying to juggle, like, okay, I've got 20 cases I'm working on. Which one is due this week, right? And if you have a Kanban, you're just like, this is what I should work on today.
What I know from uh, talking to folks that for legal offices that have more than a few lawyers, they have somebody, not only an office manager, but they have somebody who manages that kind of schedule. So
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's Kanban, but they do something like that.
yeah. Kanban is just a way to do that, right? And
Yeah,
Kanban just means signal card, right?
but
And in America, that translates to post-it note. But yeah,
yeah, but I would say from personal experience, folks that work, lawyers that I've known and know today that work on their own, they do. I have. I'm not sure how. I know how I would try to explain it to them, but I'm not. I I have a pretty good idea how it'd be received. There's like, I don't have time for this extra work that you're talking about. They have their own kind of internal schedule that they operate off of. And I think it's primarily because they're time and materials typically. So that works for them.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you're a shop, obviously you have more rigor. But anyway, I'm in danger of repeating myself. So I I think we've talked about hit all the stuff we need to talk about.
Mhm.
Do make it a priority to follow up with Steven. I can bug him as well if there's any reservations in Phoenix, and then we need to just lock that down because it is getting to the point
Well,
where we won't be.
I already followed up with Steven, so we're good there.
Okay. Well, okay, got it. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I will see you on the flip side. I'm going to work on getting the contributor page out. Oh, there's something else in actually anybody who's still listening that's interested. Um, we'll be posting more. Regina's agreed to run a telethon for Stephen. Um, so 12 hours long is her proposal. She'll set it up through her tooling, and she'll encourage as many of us as possible to join early so that we can attach our different channels. I think I'll do it through Cali Doge. I'll do it through D Media, and anybody else, and I'll do it with it through the YouTube for Doge Network as well. And then any others that are able to join in and add their own accounts/channels that can carry the live broadcast, then they'll just increase the reach. She basically will. What she agreed to do is to run a continuous loop of a bunch of Stephen's video material reporting, but in video form, and just have it on a big loop and have it run with captions along the side. And then she'll jump back and forth between talking to whoever's able to join as a speaker, when they're able to join as a speaker, and then just have it run silently on the side. And then when they're and then occasionally dropping back and letting the audio of the loop actually play. And she'll just do that for 12 hours, and hopefully we can get Stephen up to 15 grand. Now, obviously at this point, if he, a level of success is me doing some of the legwork on helping him get the credentials so that he can go to the front line and report. I think that's a level of the success that he wants to get to. I think he may well have to do that if he's been talking about going to another location after this. And I think he'll have to do that as well, before, maybe even before he even leaves. But I'll be working that on the side. But certainly money is a big limiting factor. If he doesn't have the money to stay there and work, then he can't do what he needs to do. So the press credentials is a thing we have to do in parallel. So I'm doing the incorporation steps. I'm going to create the 50 state Doge list. I have the information, I just haven't posted it. I'll post that on dogenetwork.org, and we'll try to appreciate any help you can give once I publish it, to review it and update it as necessary. Keep it up to date. It'll be kind of a team effort because it'll be a lot of information. I'm going to do all 50 states, whether and basically show if there's private or public Doge efforts going on in each state. So that list will be coming. And I still owe the minimum run rate for employees that I promised. Mm-hmm. I've worked on it, but I need to finish it up. This stuff with Stephen and getting the D Media app got me distracted. That's on my list of things to do. So that's it for me. And I'll update the notes and post this the meeting notes here shortly.
Okay.
Cool. All right, brother. I will talk to you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I will. Bye-bye.
Cheers.